Hi, and welcome to this 15 Minutes Live. Today I'm basically just taking stock of what's happening in the world. And to a degree, I'm basically applying scores. I'm taking scores. The world is definitely shifting. It's rapidly changing. The world that we knew is changing into something new. So just to keep track of the shift and also to see where we are, what is happening, I'm basically applying scores. And we all want to be on the right side, okay? I don't believe there's anyone that want to be on the wrong side. But we also want to be on the winning side, okay? So I think those two things kind of cause a conflict. It causes a conflict within us. We want to be on the right side, but we also want to be on the winning side. And for us to be on the winning side, we might not do the right thing. We might cheat. We might apply unfair practices, or we might be unfair. Why is my t-shirt sitting like this? Yeah, we might be unfair and biased in our application and on which side we are, because some of us want to win at all costs, irrespective of our opponents or the damage to our opponents, and whether we do it the right way or the wrong way. As long as we win, we win. But I think if we can marry the two, and if we can find a middle ground between wanting to be on the right side and wanting to be on the winning side, I think we can have a good outcome for everybody. Now, there's this constant fighting amongst powers in the world, because everybody wants to emerge as a superpower. And for this, there's a constant fight for power in the world. And I'm talking about things that are way over our heads at this point in time, or things that are way over my head in this point in time. We're talking about countries fighting other countries for power and for control of the world, for you being able to set the stage for which the world operates in. So we're talking about superpowers here, fighting. But if you really look at it, it is a fight for survival, right? It's a fight for survival. Everybody wants to be, or every country wants to be, that superpower, okay? Now, we in Africa, I mean, we're not even major players in this fight. I think Africa knows that they do not have the ability to influence the world. They don't have the power, they don't have the ability. I think Africa is still developing, so we know we don't have the ability to influence or to set the stage for the world. Now, not that we're completely useless. There's a lot in Africa that we can share with the world, and there's a lot of good in Africa that can influence the world, but not to such a degree that we would become the superpower that will set the stage for which the entire world operates. I think we should be honest, we're not there yet. It might happen in the future, but we're not there yet. And I can just imagine what would cause the shift, that Africa would be the superpower, or any country in Africa to be the superpower to set the stage for the world. Probably when two superpowers nuke one another and they completely wipe each other from the face of the earth, then we will step in as Africans to set the stage. But that's just I don't think that will ever happen. So in a couple of years, 10, 20, 30, 100 years, maybe Africa will rise up and emerge as a power that can set the stage. It will happen. Look, it will eventually happen. I can guarantee you that it will happen. But I don't think Africa is there at this point in time. So these superpowers are fighting each other, and this fight, or whoever wins this fight, will have a big impact in setting the stage for the world and how the world operates. Now, I'm taking stock of that because I want to be prepared. To be honest with you, I want to be prepared. I know the shift or this change is going to happen during my lifetime. I will see it. I will experience it. But I need to know exactly what's happening so that I can prepare and gear up for it. I also need to prepare my children for it, so that they also is aware, and then they can also then adjust during this transition. So we need to be aware of what's happening. We need to prepare our children. They need to understand how the world works and how the world shifts. Because if we want to leave a better world, if we want to leave a better earth for our children, we have to leave better children for the earth, as the saying goes. So it's best to be informed, it's best to be prepared, and eventually we're going to have to choose a side. And like I said, we want to be on the right side, but we also want to be on the winning side. So basically, just to take stock of what's happening, there's a total war happening in the world. Okay, and a total war is basically where when two countries fight, one or both countries are using all means, all or any means, to incapacitate another country. Nothing is off the cards. They use any or all means associated with a country's resources. They use that as a military target. All or any associated resources they use as a military target, and they use that to incapacitate another country. So that basically means that the weapons that they use are unrestricted. They can just apply any weapon in total warfare, as long as that weapon gives them an advantage and it allows them to incapacitate their opponent. So it's a kind of a scorched earth mentality, if you think about it. But it's really concerning, because I don't know why any country would want to rise as a superpower. Why not have the human race, every single living being, arise as the superpower? Why does one country want to have or control over the resources of the world? Why do they want to sit with all the power? Why do they want to sit with all the wealth? Why can't we all just benefit and share in the wealth? I mean, there's enough for all of us to live a beautiful, comfortable, and a luxurious life. All of us. Why are you fighting for you to be the only one to have that level of superiority? So in total warfare, a country uses a number of weaponry, and there's a number of wars that you fight within a total war. And one of them are a trade war. We know that America and China has been having this trade war for decades. And what a trade war is basically each one wants to have the power to have superiority when it comes to trading. And by having that superiority, you want to have the best economy, you want to be the richest country, you want to have the fastest growing economy. And it's all about the bigger your economy or the faster you grow your economy, the more you can spend on military equipment and invest into your military, which gives you that superpower. And at this point in time, just looking at the number of sanctions the US is imposing on China, looking at the US deficit, the US China deficit, looking at the US complaining about China stealing its intellectual property, it seems to me, it indicates that the US is losing this trade war. They're losing this trade war because they're the plaintiffs. They're trying everything in their power to incapacitate China. So 1-0 for China, 1 for China, 0 for the US when it comes to the trade war. Technology war, once again, China is ahead in terms of the technology. China is the biggest producer of chips, semiconductors, those type of things. Most of the technology comes out of China. Yes, the research and development is done in other countries. The intellectual property sits with other countries, but the actual manufacturing of technology is in China. And China's got the upper hand. They're leading in terms of technology. Just looking at how scared the US is on using Chinese technology, both telecommunications, whether it be drones. The US is so afraid of purchasing that type of technology with the fear that China might be spying on them, or China might be getting information on the US secretly within this technology. So once again, just the fear of the US tells me that they are behind. So once again, 1 for China, 0 for the US when it comes to the technology war. Geopolitical influence, who's got the greatest influence across the world, who's got the best alliances, who are proper set up. Yes, the US was ahead with its NATO alliances, but if you look at what China is doing together with the BRICS nations, and if you look at how many of the other nations wants to join BRICS, it is clearly telling you that the US is clear, the NATO is clearly fading, and policies of NATO is not shared by the rest of the world. People are looking for an alternative. Countries want to join an alternative, and BRICS is offering that alternative. So once again, we might be equal at this, or the US might be slightly ahead in terms of its influence and its alliances. But because of BRICS, I think that is really picking up on momentum. So I'm scoring it level pack at the moment in terms of influence. But definitely the way it's moving, BRICS will overtake NATO and the US alliances. Capital and economic war. Once again, who's got the fastest growing economy? Who's got the biggest economy? Those who have the fastest and the biggest economy definitely can spend more on military equipment. They can invest more in terms of military infrastructure. We know that China's economy has been growing fast over the past decades, where the US economy has been shrinking. So once again, in terms of the economic war, China, 1 for China and 0 for the US. Also in terms of the military warfare, the US is slightly ahead. They've made a lot of investments in their military infrastructure, but other countries equally so. But I think the US military is still bigger than any military in the world, but we are yet to see a physical military war, and I think whoever wins that war will emerge as a superpower. So in terms of other elements of total war, I think the US is behind. A physical warfare, which I hope we'll never get to, will determine who emerges as a superpower, and whoever emerges as a superpower will result in a new world order. I definitely think we're going to see that during my lifetime, with chemical weapons, nuclear weapons being a major advantage in fighting a physical war. I am going to see it, and I know it's not going to be pretty, and my heart bleeds for those nations who would be eradicating each other. Thank you, people. That's my 15 minutes live, and goodbye.